There you are. Welcome back to the garage. A quick tier list for you this time around. I think it is safe to say that Mr. Joaquin Phoenix is one of the greatest actors we have, one of the best of this generation. He's an Academy Award winner, even though that's not the role I would have given him the Oscar for. I might talk a little bit about that on this tier list, but I'm going to be ranking the films of Mr. Joaquin Phoenix. They are films that either that he starred in or that he had a prominent supporting role where he was top 3 or 4 billed in the movie. It's going to be a total of 25 films. By the way, if you want to check out my full review of Eddington, the new Ari Aster film starring Joaquin, which is what inspired this tier list, I will tag it on this video for you. Let's get on with the tier list. All right, as I bring it in here, have all the movies for you. Let me go over the tiers with you real quick. Again, there's 25 titles. I only did 4 tiers on this particular one because Joaquin has not done a lot of projects that are like gutter material, like sewer shit. All of his movies are actually pretty decent. So I did leave that bottom tier as no thanks, which is like any movie that would be below a 4 out of 10. And like I said, there's not a lot of those. There's just not. The tier right up from that is Sure, I Guess. It's a movie that's average that I didn't mind it, but I'm not necessarily going to revisit it. And then you have the 2 top tiers. Pretty Damn Good is anything that's going to be in that like 7 to 8 range out of 10. A movie that I highly recommend, of which maybe Eddington will fall there. And then Stellar is the top tier, the S tier, as the kids say, which is any movie that would be a 9 or a 10 out of 10 from Joaquin Phoenix. Let's get into it. I think that tiermaker.com does these in alphabetical order. First up is 8mm. This is a movie directed by the late, great Joel Schumacher, rest in peace. Obviously, Nicolas Cage, as you can see him on the poster there, was the star. And you had Joaquin Phoenix and James Gandolfini, of course, Tony Soprano, in some pretty prominent supporting roles. Right around this time, this was 1999, I believe, 98 or 99. There was about a 5-year period or so where Joaquin was doing just a ton of villain roles. He was always kind of the bad guy, but he was also so damn good at it that you could see why. This movie's okay. I haven't watched it in many, many years because I remember it being pretty cool and I enjoyed it. The aesthetics were nice. I just haven't revisited it and I haven't really had the craving to do so. Now, if you recall, I said the no thanks tier would be anything at a 4 out of 10 or less. So therefore, Beau is Afraid is also going to end up on Sure, I Guess, because I gave that movie around a 5 out of a 10. Ari Aster also, who just did Eddington, and the problem with Beau is Afraid for me, as a super fan of Ari Aster, is that there was so much stuff I loved in it from the craft, and really even the script and the screenplay, but it was just so anxiety driven, and it was just a hard watch to get through, and it was pretty macabre and pretty depressing. Brother Bear is another one that's going to go on Sure, I Guess. This was an animated film that he voiced the father, I believe, the father bear in the movie. I haven't seen this since it came out. I don't remember it, but I do vaguely remember being fond of the film. It was that kind of old school hand-drawn animation that we weren't getting a lot of at the time because Pixar was taking over the landscape. And we have our first stellar movie. Going up there on the top tier is Come On, Come On. Mike Mills directed one of the best films of, I believe this was 2022, I think, 21 or 22. And Joaquin Phoenix is this kid's uncle, and he basically is asked by his sister to take care of her son, take care of his nephew for X number of days. And they end up kind of journeying around the city, and he's an artist, so the nephew's drawn to him as this kind of accidental mentor. So it's a beautiful coming-of-age film, and it's also a film about Joaquin's character kind of figuring out what he wants to do with his life and how family kind of ties into all of that. Don't worry, I won't get very far on foot, and the pun there with the title of that movie is that he's in a wheelchair. It's based on a true story of a guy that used to do political cartoons and got picked up by, I think, the New Yorker or some famous periodical like that, and kind of his name started to become more well-known. It's got a lot of great supporting roles in the film. Jonah Hill is in there in one of his kind of serious dramatic roles. It's directed by Gus Van Sant. I remember being like, yeah, this is pretty good, but it was one of those films when I heard about it, I thought, man, this is Oscar bait. They're going to love this thing. And it just went absolutely nowhere. I think it may have gone straight to streaming. It was over those couple years of that COVID era. It's not a bad movie. It's just not one I'm rushing to rewatch. Now, if you guys have not heard my review yet, I'm not sure how surprised you'll be by this one, but Eddington, which is what inspired this video, is going to go in the Pretty Damn Good tier for me. I gave it an 8 out of 10, spoiler alert. Again, my review is tagged on this video, so I won't go super in depth for you. But I think Ari Aster, and along with the stellar performances at 99.9% of the movie from Joaquin, carried this kind of troubling material to a wonderful climax in the film. The last act is off the wall bonkers, and it brought back a lot of the nostalgia, and I use that in air quotes for sure, about the COVID-19 era, especially here in America, and how small towns were dealing with it at the time. And the way he captured that time and place so vividly was really fascinating to me. I'm going to put her up on the stellar tier as well. Spike Jonze. If you guys know Joaquin, you know this movie. Very poignant, very beautiful, gorgeously shot. And fast forward like 15 years to where we are now from when this movie took place, and it's actually happening, which is kind of fucking weird. But basically, Joaquin falls in love with a version of Siri who is voiced by Scarlett Johansson in the film, so of course he does. And now I just read a story the other day on a Twitter post or some article that I came across about a guy that was blocked by the AI in his program because she wanted to break up with him, the AI. And it's just like, oh my God, we're living in her. Next up is Hotel Rwanda. This is one that I barely remember, but I also remember that I had to watch this for a course in college. And I thought Joaquin was really good in it, but I think he has a minor role. I did want to include it because it's one of the more prominent roles in that movie. It's obviously not top front and center like Don Cheadle or even Nick Nolte, who's also in that film. I think Nick Nolte's the owner of the hotel that is protecting these Rwanda citizens from the genocide. So it's a true story. It was an Oscars player that year. Joaquin is memorable in the film. He's just not in a ton of it. So you're going to get Joker back to back here, a double feature. So the first Joker, the original, which is the one that he won his Oscar for, which I don't agree with, by the way, is going to go on the Sure I Guessed tier. That one would probably be around a 6 out of 10 for me. Foley I Do, or as I like to call it, Joker Foley a Poo-Poo, is going to go on the no thanks tier. I know this movie has its defenders. I'm not one of them. It was a huge letdown because I love Lady Gaga as a actress, yes, but even more so as a performer and a musician, and they underused the shit out of her in that movie. There was only a couple songs that I can even remember her singing, and I feel like it was either a duet with Joaquin or she was doing this weird whisper singing. It wasn't to her full capabilities, and I didn't like that at all. Where do you guys think Ridley Scott's Gladiator is going? Bam, stellar. 10 out of 10 movie. The first 10 out of 10, actually. Let me put in the first 10 out of 10. I'm going to reorder these, the top tier, when we get there. If you guys have seen these before, you know what I mean. But stick around. I'm Still Here is a movie that is really fucking weird. It's directed by Casey Affleck, and it's like a mockumentary style film where Joaquin's playing himself and how he wants to quit acting to become a hip-hop artist. And it's his kind of journey of transitioning from film to music. And it's a mockumentary slapstick kind of comedy with some dark thematic elements in it. I can remember Joaquin on the press tour for this movie going on like Letterman and acting like the character in the film as opposed to the Joaquin. But then it was like a blurred line situation where it's like, is he acting or is that who he is now? Like, we don't know. He's a weird dude and he's kind of out there with the hair and the shades and all that. But it was a persona that kind of caught the zeitgeist by storm when it came out in 2010, I believe. Inherent Vice, Paul Thomas Anderson, is going to go on the Sure I Guess tier. I love PTA. This is one of the lower rated films of his for me. I do still like it. I would probably give it around a 6. I definitely love the aesthetics of the 70s, and you look at movies like Boogie Nights, and PTA can capture that stuff perfectly, and he did so here as well. But the story was just kind of dull and meandering for me. I did think Phoenix gave a great performance along with some of the supporting players, but it's not my favorite PTA, but it is a movie that I would recommend around a 6 out of 10. Mary Magdalene, I'm going to put on no thanks. I didn't even make it through the full length of this movie, so it's almost unfair for me to put it on here. But I did watch like the first 75% of it, and I just never went back to watch it a couple years ago. But he plays Jesus in the movie, and it's actually pretty stellar casting for him as Jesus. He actually did a really, really good job in that role. And then you had Rooney Mara playing Mary Magdalene, and it's basically the same story of Jesus' kind of like resurrection and leading up to that, but it's told through Mary's point of view. Obviously, the Virgin Mary, the Holy Mother, whatever they say in real. I'm not very religious. I don't know what I'm talking about. Another one that I'm going to throw up on the stellar tier, though, is The Master, and that's a PTA film that I get behind. So, you guys must know, this is a 10 out of 10 film also. Just a brilliant performance from Philip Seymour Hoffman in this movie. And Joaquin Phoenix does his damnedest to win an Oscar for this one, too, in the supporting category, but of course he did not. Just a great film from PTA. It's one of the best in his catalog. It's on my stellar tier. Napoleon, I'm going to put on Sure I Guess. Joaquin's working with Ridley Scott again a couple years ago with this one. It was an Apple TV original, and I just remember being so excited, having it in my predictions that year. And I know it did get some nominations, but I mean for like picture, actor, the whole thing, because it was Ridley Scott and Joaquin Phoenix together again, like 20 years since Gladiator. And I just thought it would be something a little more special than what we ended up getting, because what Napoleon was, and honestly what Gladiator 2 was that came out last year, is these really over-the-top, beautiful, bountiful like action sequences and these wartime set pieces that Ridley Scott is unrivaled in performing those, no matter how believable they may or may not be. But then there was no other really story that kept me invested beyond those 4 or 5 action sequences or battles on the battlefield. The Quills is also going to go on the Sure I Guess tier because I don't remember it all that well. I do know Joaquin was really brilliant in this like Renaissance period piece setting that he was in. It was a romance. Jeffrey Rush is in the film. It's good. It's a good movie, but in my personal preference, 6-ish out of 10. You guys might be surprised. M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's Signs is going to go on the stellar tier for me. I don't give a fuck. It's around a 9 out of 10 for me. This was a movie that hit me so hard when I saw it in the theater, and I was riding a high because Shyamalan was on a run because he had The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and then Signs. And I thought all 3 of those were 9 out of 10 or better. And I was like, this dude's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. And then after Signs, it was just like this until he crashed off the side of a cliff. And I love a good alien film, alien abduction, sci-fi, whatever. I love that when it's rooted in reality and it feels real and it doesn't feel like science fiction. And that's what Shyamalan was able to do with Signs. The Sisters Brothers is a pretty damn good, Western, and one of the better Westerns we've gotten in the last 10 to 15 years. Directed by Mr. Jacques Audiard, way before the Emilia Perez travesty that I hated. He did The Sisters Brothers, and you got not only Joaquin in there, but you have John C. Reilly, Jake Gyllenhaal, stellar cast, great direction, and it was a true American Western at a time when we were not getting a lot of those. This is actually a really underseen and undervalued film, so if you haven't seen The Sisters Brothers and you like Westerns, I would give it a shot. Joaquin's got a really small role in a film called To Die For from the 90s, starring Miss Nicole Kidman as this kind of like sex pot journalist who kind of uses her allure to get the inside scoop in these stories. And Joaquin Phoenix is more of a supporting role in this film, but he was memorable enough to where I really enjoyed his performance and I remember it. And this is one of Nicole Kidman's best too. If I ever do a Nicole Kidman tier list, this would probably be on the S tier just because her performance is so damn good. And if you're looking at her catalog, there's only a handful that I would think are even as good as she was in To Die For. U-Turn, I'm going to put on No Thanks. This is a film where Jennifer Lopez and Sean Penn do kind of like a modern day Bonnie and Clyde story where they're killing folks and robbing banks and doing all kinds of shit. And Joaquin Phoenix is kind of a secondary player in the film. It's directed by Oliver Stone, who is a filmmaker that I adore. He was actually one of my favorites back in the 90s. This came out in 97 or 8. I just remember going, well, this is kind of like almost like a knockoff of Natural Born Killers, which he's already done, and did it much better and much more violent, what you would think these types of movies would be. So it was okay. The Village is one that has grown over time. We were talking about Shyamalan Ding Dong earlier with Signs. This one's not as good as that movie, but Joaquin does have a little bit more of a prominent role in The Village. He'd already worked with M. Night before, and he came in and kind of just held this material along with Bryce Dallas Howard and a lot of other supporting people in the cast. And it has a really, really great twist, and there's also a great twist in Sixth Sense. But in my opinion, The Village and Sixth Sense are those movies where they have the twist, and then it's like, I don't really need to watch it again. You know what I mean? Unless you're showing it to somebody else for the first time. And then you're going to get another stellar tier film in Walk the Line. This is one of my favorite movies really ever. It's in my top 50 of all time probably. It's one of the better music biopics, and it's James Mangold, who just did A Complete Unknown last year. But Joaquin plays Johnny Cash. Reese Witherspoon won the Oscar as June Carter Cash in this film. It's, like I said, if you like music biopics, it is a formulaic movie in that regard. It's very paint by numbers for the music biopic, but it's also before that was like a disease that was spreading around Hollywood and not everybody was doing them back then. So great movie, Oscar notoriety that year. Walk the Line is one of my favorites on this whole page here. And then the last one we're going to talk about is also going to go on the stellar tier, and that's from Mrs. Lynn Ramsey, her film called You Were Never Really Here. This is a film that Joaquin is trying to rescue a girl from sex trafficking, a young girl, and he kind of takes her in and is her protector. And he's a hitman, so she's in danger of being with him anyway, but it's not to the level of the sex trafficking that she was involved in. So he's attempting to save her, and there's a whole plot twist as to who hired him, etc. But Lynn Ramsey shot this thing brilliantly, you know, cutting to like, he'll be coming up to like he's going to kill somebody with a hammer, and right when he goes down to make the thrust, the camera will cut away, and then it'll show something else and come back a few seconds later, and all you see is like a bloody hammer on the floor and a bunch of blood splatter. And Joaquin was phenomenal in this film. All right, there you go. So it looks like I have 2, 4, I have 7 on that top S tier. Let me order these for you real quick. Let's see, what's my favorite? I'm probably gonna put Walk the Line first, then Gladiator, then The Master, then probably Her, Signs, and Lynn Ramsey probably right before the Mike Mills Come On, Come On. So there you go. So my top 7 Joaquin Phoenix starring films would be Walk the Line, Gladiator, The Master, Her, Signs, You Were Never Really Here, and Come On, Come On. Like I said, guys, I do highly recommend Eddington if you're okay with taking a trip down memory lane to COVID era 2020 in the southwestern part of the United States. I don't know why I did that and why I liked it so much, but I did. What's your favorite Joaquin Phoenix film? Maybe there's one on this tier list that I did not mention because I have not seen it. Let me know down below. I'd love to hear that. And let me know what you think of my rankings of the films of Mr. Phoenix. I will see you guys out here next time in the garage.